So you're thinking of moving to Chandler, Arizona, but before you make the move, you want to know all the pros and cons about Chandler. Well, in this video, we're going to cover exactly that. We're going to talk about all the great stuff that Chandler has to offer, but also some of the cons and bad parts about living in Chandler. If you've seen any of my other pros and con videos, I don't like to sugarcoat the cons. This is not one of those videos where it's like, oh, here's some cons, but they're like kind of twisted and sugarcoated and they're secretly like pros in disguise. No, there are some actual downsides and cons to living in Chandler, and we're going to be real and honest about it. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm Samantha, and my team and I get calls every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to Phoenix, Arizona and all the areas around it, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 9 months, just reach out anytime. We are here and happy to help. Just give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, hop on a Zoom call with us. All that info is in the description. We would absolutely love to help you make a smooth move here to Phoenix, Arizona or to Chandler. So today we're going to be talking about Chandler, the pros, the cons, what it's like living in Chandler, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. This is information that it's really important to know before you decide whether or not to make the move out here. So let's go ahead and start jumping into all of this info. Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and jump into the pros and cons of living in Chandler, Arizona. There are awesome parts about living in Chandler. There are some amazing pros, really cool things about it, but there are some real cons and a lot of drawbacks. If you've seen any of the other pros and cons videos, you know, and I don't like doing that thing where it's like pros and cons, but the like cons are actually secretly pros and they like spin it and you're like, oh my gosh, that's not really a con. You're just like trying to sell me on it. No, there are cons to living in Chandler, Arizona, and it is not the right place for a lot of people. So my goal in this video is to make sure you know the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between to see if Chandler is actually going to be the right fit for you. So let's get started with this list. All right, we're going to start off with the pros. And the very first pro is that you get to have that luxury high-end lifestyle that's really similar to Scottsdale or LA or different parts of California or even on the East Coast, but you get it at a fraction of the price with Chandler. You're gonna have beautiful, huge homes and estates, lots of even like custom mansions and stuff like that. You get to have homes on the water, the lake, these beautiful, gorgeous, giant homes and gated communities with all the amenities, but it is a fraction of the price of Scottsdale or other places outside of Arizona as well. So that is definitely one of the pros and one of the big draws for people who are looking for that kind of luxury lifestyle in the Chandler area. Another huge pro of the Chandler area and living here is all of the jobs. The job market is booming in Chandler, and a huge part of that is the tech industry. There are over 100,000 tech and software jobs here just in the Chandler area, which is really cool. There's actually a part of Chandler called the Price Corridor. If you've seen our other videos, you probably will have heard about it, but it is one of the huge technology hubs. Oof, sorry, I can't talk. I'm tripping over my words today. It is one of the technology hubs here in all of the Arizona area, and so all up and down the Price Corridor there are all these technology jobs. Like I said, over 100,000 tech and software jobs. Chandler is voted one of the best places to build wealth and also one of the top 10 places for women in technology in the whole country, which I think is pretty cool. I'm sure it's great for men in technology too, but also women. So either way, awesome. If you want to work in tech, Chandler is definitely the place to do it. Another pro of Chandler is something that you'll see in a few other communities in the Phoenix area, but it's really got this tight-knit community neighborhood feel. It is very communal. There are lots of activities that kind of bring people together, and there's just this sense of camaraderie and pride with the Chandler city. They actually have a hashtag for the city, and it's I Choose Chandler. People love where they live when it is Chandler. They love their communities. They are very active in the community, and it just kind of has that feel, almost like a small town feel without being a small town. So when people know each other, everyone's got kind of favorite restaurants and hot spots that they enjoy going to, and there really is kind of that sense of neighborly camaraderie throughout the different areas within the Chandler area. A huge pro of Chandler is also the school system, if that is something that is important to you. They've got incredible schools, some of the highest rated schools in the greater Phoenix metro area, both their charter schools and their private schools, A-rated, top-notch, but also their public schools are really good, which is not something that can be said about the public schools in other parts of the Phoenix area, but Chandler public schools are incredibly good. There are also a lot of options, both in Chandler and Gilbert, which is the city that just borders Chandler. There's a lot of different school systems and a lot of flexibility with the types of schools that you have. So you really have a lot of options if schools are important to you. And something that also goes along with the schools, a big pro of Chandler that a lot of people look for is the athletic programs. They have really incredible athletic programs that are rated kind of top in that Phoenix area. So if athletic programs, specifically football, are important to you, there are a couple of schools that have some of the higher ranking athletic programs here kind of in that Chandler area. Another pro of Chandler, and this is going to be common just for all the kind of Phoenix metro area, is the weather. This one comes with a caveat. The weather in the spring, late fall, and winter, it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It is sunny. It's in the 70s, 80s, occasionally low 90s for most of that time frame, and it is beautiful. You see everybody out and about, walking their dogs and kids, going to the parks, hiking, walking, biking, enjoying all the kind of outside activities. Everyone's always eating on the patios during that time of the year, and you'll see it throughout Chandler, Gilbert, and a lot of the different Phoenix areas. So many restaurants here have patios because we really like to take advantage of that beautiful weather that we have for most of the year. There's also a ton of golfing here in the Chandler area. We actually have, in kind of that Phoenix metro area, we have the most golf courses per capita, which is kind of a weird thing to say when you're in the desert. It's a lot of grass to maintain in the desert, but there are incredible amounts of golf courses in kind of this Chandler East Valley area. And so that's definitely a pro. It's just all the outside living and life and activities that you get to have with the beautiful weather that comes with it. It only rains about 25 days on average a year. So there's a few days where we have rain, but for the most part, it is sunny and 75 and we love it. Another pro of Chandler is the shopping, dining, and entertainment. There is a lot to do, especially kind of in that historic downtown Chandler area. If you want to see more about historic downtown Chandler, or if you've already watched the videos, we have a vlog tour of the Chandler area and we go through downtown. It's also a map tour that you can check out as well. But we kind of go through, show you what the downtown is like, what it has to offer. It's really cool. It actually has a lot of history behind it. Downtown Chandler was founded in 1912, and in the early 2000s they got funding to kind of revamp downtown and kind of breathe new life into it, but they decided they wanted to keep a lot of that history that was there in the early 1900s. So they weren't allowed to really change the buildings or the structure, so they could update the insides, and you'll see all the kind of restaurants, shops, bars, salons, stores, and everything. They're updated on the inside, but on the outside, they kind of have that old town kind of like cowboy saloon town vibe. I don't know how else to describe it, but very like early 1900s for kind of this random little town that started out in the middle of the desert close to Phoenix. And so it's really cool to kind of see the history and see that still in the buildings in the downtown area. But downtown has everything that you could want. Like I said, bars, restaurants, shops, incredible food. They've got the Santan Brewing Company, which is one of the biggest local breweries here in Arizona. They've got locations all over the valley. They also, I mean, they're even in the airports and stuff like that, but they also provide beer to a lot of the locally owned restaurants and stuff like that throughout the Arizona area, which is really cool, and even outside of Arizona as well. So you've got lots of different little breweries down there. You've got some coffee shops, a really cool kind of outside patio area that you can walk through. There's fountains and gardens and stuff like that to enjoy. There's an incredible sushi spot. If you've seen my other videos on Chandler, I talk about it. It's East Wind Sushi, and it is so good. You guys have got to check it out if you're into sushi. If not, don't. If you don't like sushi, there's no point in going. But if you do like sushi, check out Eastwind. It's super yummy. But the cool thing about Chandler is, since it does kind of have that luxury high-end lifestyle, there's a lot of high-end fine dining to be had in Chandler. But there's also a lot of casual, local and chain mom and pop shops, everything you could want. So whether it's kind of fast dining or upscale, high end, you kind of have everything in between. So whatever you want, it's all there. And that actually leads us into our next pro, which is that the city is very convenient. There are restaurants, shops, grocery stores, coffee, gas stations, anywhere throughout the Chandler area. You do kind of feel like there are some neighborhoods where are gated. You kind of feel like you're outside of the city a little bit, and it's quiet and peaceful, but you're never more than 5 or 10 minutes away from everything that you need for day-to-day life. The gas stations and grocery stores and coffee and everything like that. Golf clubs, if golf is essential, there's golf clubs all over Chandler. If you watch the map tour, we show like literally in this one strip, there's like 10 golf courses. So there's golf anywhere you look if that is essential to you, but you really do have the convenience of not having to drive that far to get wherever you need to to go and kind of have all your day-to-day needs met within that Chandler area. So that is definitely nice to not have to do a lot of driving. Okay, now the moment you've been waiting for, the cons, the drawbacks, the bad parts. And let's jump right into it. The first is HOA fees. So this kind of ties into one of the pros is there's a lot of beautiful high-end gated communities in the Chandler area, but the con that comes with that is a lot of the neighborhoods and the communities, gated and ungated in the Chandler area, have HOA fees associated with them, and they can be pretty pricey. The HOA fees kind of help to cover different services, sometimes like landscaping or water or garbage, and sometimes there are amenities that go in with it, and there are some incredible amenities that some of these luxury communities have, but the HOA fees can get very expensive and can easily get into several $100s a month. So that's just something to be aware of as you're trying to decide what budget you want to stick with and kind of what's going to be a good fit for you. That is something to keep in mind, as there's a lot of HOAs with the majority of the communities here in the Chandler area. So as you're kind of looking around and pricing it out and running your budget, that is something to factor in as well. So just make sure when you're talking with your agent that you ask about the HOA fees, ask how much it is, what it covers, and everything like that. But that can be a drawback because it adds up pretty quick. And another con, you got to mention this anytime you're talking about cons in the Phoenix greater area, and this applies to Chandler too, is the weather in the summer. Like we talked about, it's beautiful spring, late fall, and winter, but June to September especially, it is brutal. It is so hot, and you can't avoid it. It's really, really, really hot. Being 115 is normal. Like, we get to 115 and higher easily throughout the summers, and so it's no joke. People say here that it's a dry heat, and they're like, oh, well, at least it's a dry heat. It's not that bad. If you see my other videos, I call BS on that. 115 degrees is still really hot, whether it's humid or not. I am thankful that we don't have too much humidity here, but it is still like walking into an oven when you go outside your door in the summer. You'll see people always fighting over spots, like in the grocery store parking lot. People are fighting for spots in the shade just for to avoid the sun for a few minutes while you go into the grocery store. If you ever do park your car outside in the summer, be careful. You're gonna burn yourself on like the seat belt, the steering wheel. You'll see memes of people like putting pot holders on their hand just to touch the steering wheel because it gets that hot. Yeah, it's no joke. Your car batteries are gonna die quick. That is kind of like bonus con in there is your batteries are going to die quick in your car. You're going to have to replace them every 2 years. Factor that into the cost as well. So the heat here really is no joke. In the summers, you kind of just hide inside, avoid the outside, stay in the air conditioning unless you have like a pool, in which case you can kind of escape to the pool. That'll kind of help. But for the most part, you just kind of hunker down and try to avoid going outside in the summer because it's pretty brutal. Another con of Chandler is actually the cost of living. The cost of living in Chandler is about 5% higher than the national average. And again, that's going to depend on kind of what your lifestyle looks like, what your house situation looks like. It could be even higher than that. But the housing costs in general are going to be higher in Chandler than the national average. Things such as housing, dining, and food costs are all higher than the national average in Chandler. But there are a few things that are a little bit lower. Things like utilities, and transportation to some extent. It depends on the type of transportation that you have. You don't have to pay for public transportation because it's not that great. More on that later. But you are going to have to pay more for transportation in terms of replacing your car battery every couple of years, replacing your tires every few years because the heat really does a number on them. Car insurance, licensing, all of that kind of stuff. Some of those costs are a little bit higher than the national average when it comes to transportation. So just kind of something to keep in mind is that cost of living in Chandler is going to be a little bit higher than the average in other places. And since I talked about transportation, we are going to move right along to the next con, which is going to be longer commute times. If you watch the map tour where we kind of go through and show you where Chandler is in relation to the downtown Phoenix area and kind of everything around it, it's a little bit farther. It's a little bit kind of out there, and if you have to commute to places outside of Chandler, whether you're working in the downtown area, or maybe you're working in Scottsdale, if you have to travel a lot and go to the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, those commute times are going to be longer. You're going to have to take some highways to go into the city, and that is going to take you a while, especially during rush hour traffic. So if you kind of eat, work, sleep, play, live all in Chandler, that is awesome. But if you're going to be working outside of Chandler, be prepared for a commute of at least 30 minutes, maybe up to 45 or even an hour, depending on where in the city you work and kind of what your schedule looks like. And talking about commutes, that's going to actually lead us into our next one. Ooh, we're kind of setting up with a lot of good segues here. This is great. But the next one is actually going to be public transportation. Public transportation here kind of sucks. There's no other way around it. Like if you are in downtown Phoenix or downtown Tempe, those are pretty walkable. They've got the light rail and a pretty good public transportation system. Areas outside of that, like Chandler, for example, the public transportation is really not that great. There's a bus system, but it's not super efficient. It doesn't get you where you need to go all of the time, and it is slow. So if you're going to be in Chandler, even if you are working, going to school and everything inside of Chandler, it is still a little bit spread out. So most people in Chandler and other greater Phoenix areas throughout the valley, most people here do have cars just because things are so spread out, and you are going to have to do a fair amount of driving to get from A to B. So that is kind of a drawback, is that it's not very walkable, and mass transportation is not going to do the trick. All right, the next con is going to be pools. And yes, they are awesome to have, and they are beautiful to look at, and it's an awesome escape from the horrible heat that we deal with in the summers. But when it comes to pools, there is a lot of care, upkeep, and maintenance that is required for them, and that's going to take some time and money. So if you've got a community pool, awesome. You don't have to worry about it. The community will take care of it for you. But if you have a pool in your backyard, which is very common throughout the valley, especially here in the Chandler area, then keeping up the pool is going to be kind of something that you're going to have to consider. So if you're going to do it yourself and you're a DIY person, like awesome, way to go, props to you. It is going to take still a good amount of time, money, and research to make sure that you're doing everything right when it comes to the care, maintenance, and balancing the chemicals and everything like that to make sure it's safe. If you are like myself and you are too lazy to do it all yourself, then you can just hire a pool care service. That is very common all throughout the different areas here in Phoenix, especially Chandler, like I said, because there are a lot of pools here. And so pool service is anywhere from $100 to $200 a month, and they'll come out every week or every other week. Kind of depends on the time of year and how much you're going to be using the pool, but they'll make sure that it's clean, that it's got all the maintenance it needs. They're going to balance all the pH and the chemicals and everything involving the chlorine, just to make sure it's safe and ready to use whenever that you need it. And also something else to consider with pools is you've got to have it gated. There is a safety factor that can be a drawback with pools, and some people are really concerned about that. In Arizona, actually, water safety became such a big issue that they started a law that any pool where there is a child under the age of 6 living in the home, any pool has to be gated, covered, fenced, and there's all these rules and regulations about what type of fence and barrier and everything there is. So most of the pools here already have that because the law has been around for a while, and pool safety is something people in Arizona take really, really seriously. That is something very important to us. We want to make sure our families are always safe around the pools. But if you are in a house and there's a pool and it has not been gated, it doesn't have a fence put up, there are tons of companies that can do that for you and make sure it's all up to regulation and everything like that. So pools can be a little bit more time and money, and a lot of care needed, just as a heads up. All right, and the last and final con, this is something common in a lot of areas throughout Arizona. If you've seen our other pro and con videos, you've heard us talk about it, but it's just that it is growing so quickly. Chandler has kind of reached mostly the max of what it can hold in terms of people. They are still doing building here and there. There are still new builds going in some of the land that has not been developed yet, and there are new businesses going in, things like that. But the reason Gilbert is a city, which is a city next to it, is because Chandler started growing and expanding so quickly, they started running out of room, and so that's why Gilbert began growing in the 1990s. So Chandler does still have availability. There are still homes here and there, but they are few and far between, and it is tricky trying to get into one of those homes. So if Chandler is somewhere you're interested in, if it seems like it's going to fit your lifestyle, reach out and let us know. It is hard winning a house right now and getting your offer accepted with how competitive things in the market are. That's why you need an amazing team who understand what's going on in the market, who know how to get your offer accepted, and who know the best way to kind of get you into that dream house and dream lifestyle that you're looking for. If Chandler is the fit, awesome. Like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Reach out, give us a call, send us an email, send us a text, days, nights, weekends. We are here and happy to help. And Chandler might not be the place for you. That's my goal in this video, is just to kind of share the good, the bad, and the ugly, and maybe Chandler is not going to be the right fit for you. But there are a lot of areas that might actually be what you're looking for, kind of nearby in that Phoenix area. So if you are still trying to find the right place, check out all the other videos that we've done. There's a lot of different areas that we've covered, and if you have any other questions, if there's areas that you want to know more about, or if you just have questions about making a move here in general, please reach out anytime. No matter what, we are here and happy to help. Even if you don't want to work with us in the end, that is okay. I won't be offended, I promise. But my goal is just to be here. We're here to be a resource, to help you guys, to guide you, give you all the information that you need so you can make a smooth move to the Phoenix area. So if Chandler is or is not the right place for you, I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Are there things about Chandler that you love if you live here? Are there more things you want to know about it? Are there things that maybe have changed since this video came out and since you're watching it? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, hope to see you soon.